Hello, everyone. If you can hear me clearly, technical chat, if you can hear me clearly, can you type in one in the chat for me? All right, I think we have go live. Let me just check. Yep, okay, I see all the one coming in. Okay, so very good evening, everyone. So my name is Zach, right? And very happy to be here tonight to share with you, what's probably coming next, right, for the crypto market. Just curious, right? How many of you are here tonight that are totally new to crypto? Okay, if you are totally new or very new, can you type in just new, type in new from in the chat? I need to wait a while to see your reply. Okay. Guys, if I'm not responding, I don't think I'm lagging. It's because I think you guys are lagging. So I have to wait a little bit to see your reply. Okay, and how many of you, right, have this thinking, when you come tonight, right, you have this thinking that, the Bitcoin is dead or crypto market is dead. Okay, and you have this fear that, the Bitcoin is over. Okay, if you think so, then you type in D for dead. Give me a minute, let me just share my screen further. Okay. Sorry, guys, give me 1 minute. Let me work out the screen position first. Okay, I saw a chat from who's this? Wilson, he say, don't think it's dead. Okay, just want to know when is the bottom and rebound. Okay, then you come in today for the right life. Okay. To be honest, can anyone predict or time the bottom? Okay, very difficult. Okay. But today I want to share with you this very simple uh, uh, data, okay, that I have discovered in a way. Okay. So okay, first, let me do the disclaimer first. Of course, today, whatever that is shared is intended for general information and educational purposes only, okay? So, it's not advised to buy or sell anything, right? Okay, so if you have any question, go through your licensed financial advisor. Right, so, very interestingly, when I met an old friend last Saturday, okay, and he was asking me, okay, because he know I'm in the crypto space, so last time I give them some tips also, again, so they make some money from it. So he was asking me, he said, hey, Zach, um, wow, Bitcoin suddenly dropped a lot, and can I buy or not? Is it the right time to buy? Okay, so I mean, he has been asking me this question since 2021. Okay. And then I sort of like a bit tease him lah. I say like, if you don't believe it, whatever I tell you, you won't buy one. Right. And sure enough, I shared some pointers with him that he managed to get more clarity as well. Okay. So today I want to share whatever that we had over the coffee talk, right, which is a short, maybe 30 minutes, right, I will put it into more details, okay, to share the exact thing that I told him, okay, with you guys. So, first up, right, okay, the market seems to be bound a little bit today, okay, to 65,000. But if you guys remember, right, the high where we were last year was about 125,000. So we were about close to 50% down now, okay. And if we look at the chart over here, right, 2025, this is our peak, right, and then the drop, okay. But compare, we are actually right now sitting around the what, the 20, okay, so I'll say a 2024, like, yes, but the 2021 high, maybe we are sitting at around the 2021 high. So why did I say we refer to the 2021 but not the 2024? Okay, because today, right, I'm actually trying to tell you guys a very simple theory. Okay, and it has been known as a myth. Okay, some people believe it as a myth. Okay, some people take it as you know, a non-evident or non-supported theory, okay, which is what? Which is the Bitcoin 4-year cycle, okay. So why do I ask you guys the question just now? Okay, okay, firstly, how many of you, right, don't know anything or never heard before anything about this Bitcoin 4-year cycle, right? Can you type in me in the chat? Okay, just want to have a show of hand, okay? Then I can probably adjust a little bit of my flow as well, okay? But why do I ask the question earlier that how many of you think that Bitcoin or crypto is dead, okay? How do I do? Okay. Okay, so okay, this is quite a recent Twitter post. Okay, you can see that it's on the 30th of June. Okay, why this post? Because a lot of sentiment, you know, in Twitter is saying that, you know, Bitcoin is dead again, you know, Bitcoin is suffering again, you know, crypto is dead again. Okay, and we have been through this day, right? One time, two time, three time, four time now. Okay, in fact, five time now. Okay, but more recently, four time now. Okay, that Bitcoin is there, and we can see that just from the chart itself, every time when someone say that Bitcoin is dead, probably is recovering, okay, reviving. Okay, okay, and I also understand why people have this concern, okay, and this frustration, okay, especially in the crypto winter, which is what we call the bear market in crypto, right? It's quite scary. Okay, why? Because you can see in the 201415 crashes, okay, Bitcoin drops about 87%. Okay, which means if you have a $1,000 investment, you are left with only about $100+, right? And then in the 2018 crash, Bitcoin dropped about 84%. Right? In the 2022 crash, right, we were down at about 77%. Okay, so just like I mentioned, right, how much are we down right now? Okay, we are down at about close to 50% now. Okay, which is about 65,000. Today price is about 65,000. Right? So we are close to about 50% drop. Okay, and that is a lot to take sometime. Okay, because uh a lot of investing vehicles that are introduced to the masses, right, or introduced to the retail investor typically are safer in a way because they are, how to say, regulated, right? So it cannot be too risky in a way. Right? So it's very difficult to see this kind of percentage drop. Yeah, I don't talk about stock market. Of course, stock market, you know, you go and choose a very lousy, stupid company, okay, this kind of thing could happen as well, right? Or you know, a scam company, okay, this kind of thing can drop, right? Interestingly, you know, IPO when, because recently there's the SpaceX IPO, right? And interestingly, usually for company that IPOs, right, after some time the price retreat about close to 40%. Okay, but okay, this is a lot to take for a lot of people. Okay, seeing their portfolio gone, and because they, I would say most generally, right, most people they still don't have a clear understanding of what crypto is about, how, why there is crypto, you know, so they don't have enough conviction to hold true. Okay, so yeah, we can see that, you know, the drop is quite drastic, okay, for people to take. Um Okay, just now I asked the question, how many people reply? Let me just see. Huh? Okay, how many people reply? Okay. So for those who don't know what is a 4-year cycle, right? Today, this will be the main thing that we'll be discussing. Okay. So, but let me come back to a slide first. Apart from the drastic pullback that you can experience in crypto, okay, for those who participated in the last cycle, okay, meaning the 2022, 23, 24, or rather 2023, 24, 25, right? They also get a little bit, disappointed. Okay, why? Okay, because the so-called promised altcoin season doesn't really come. Okay, so for people who are very new, right, what is altcoins? There are many kind of crypto in the world, right? You have Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, you have Solana, all these are different cryptocurrency. Any cryptocurrency that is not Bitcoin are considered altcoins, which are alternate coins, right? So the like of Ethereum is altcoins, the like of stable coins, okay, they are altcoin, okay? And in 2021, right, we saw a massive gain in altcoin, okay, and it's called the altcoin season, okay, where all the alternate coins tremendously outperform Bitcoin, okay. Lucky for me, I was early in the cycle, okay, so that was a time where, we really had a very good gain on altcoins, okay, but it was very disappointing because according to the 4-year cycle, right, okay, it was supposed to come in, say, maybe the second or rather Q3, Q4 of 2024 towards 2025. Okay, the off season should come, but it never come. Okay, and there are a lot of discussion going on around in Twitter, in discussion panels that the altcoin season has been cancelled forever. Okay, why? Because in 2024, okay, there is institutional adoption that we've never seen before in the crypto market, okay, which is the Bitcoin ETF, okay, one of the major one, right? So a lot of people are very disappointed. They feel that, the altcoin season never comes back again. And, the next moment I know all my portfolio are new rates, right? Bitcoin dropped tremendously. All my altcoins suffer even more. Some of the altcoins dropped 70 to 80% now, right? And they feel that, this is not the game for me. Okay. So is it really true, right, that the altcoin season didn't come, okay, in the last cycle? Okay, I will talk a little bit more about the altcoins later. Okay, but because I understand today live sharing there is also a lot of newer participant, in the crypto space. So let's come back and focus on the Bitcoin first. Okay, I will touch on altcoins later on in the live. So this is what we call the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. Okay, if you look at the chart over here, okay, so for people who don't know, right, what is the 4-year cycle? Okay, the 4-year cycle actually happens. Okay, what was not indicated here was the Bitcoin halving. Okay, but I will share with you guys later. Okay, what is called the Bitcoin halving? Okay, so let me explain a little bit about the Bitcoin halving. Okay, what is a halving? Okay, so how is Bitcoin being produced? And Bitcoin are being mined. Okay, so we need a lot of electrical power, right, to solve this algorithm on the blockchain. Okay, so today, for example, I'm going to transfer 1 Bitcoin to Wilson. Okay, and I process it on the blockchain, on the Bitcoin blockchain. Okay, so the computing power, right, will solve this algorithm. Okay, and approve it as a legit transaction, okay, that will permanently stays on the blockchain, right? And by doing so, right, okay, for example, let me see, for example, Gladys, right? So Gladys is the one that successfully solved the mathematical solving, okay, and she will get reward with 1 Bitcoin. For example, we take this as an example, okay. So this is what we call the mining reward, okay, meaning they get certain reward out from contributing to maintaining the network. Okay, what Bitcoin halving do, right, is that every 4 years, right, every 4 years, okay, the mining rewards, right? So this is the rewards. Okay, I don't know why my pen like this. Okay. Oops. Okay, pardon me, guys. Writing alien words. Okay, but the rewards, right, will be cut in half. Okay. Meaning, right, after 4 years, instead of 1 Bitcoin, right, you get only 0.5. Okay. After 4 years again. Okay. Why is it like this? Okay. So, oops. Okay, so you get 1 Bitcoin cut to half, you get 0.5. Okay. And then the next one will cut and become 0.25. Okay. And all this happen within a 4 years halving cycle. Mm. There are, of course, I believe, more complex reason behind this. Okay, but the basis, okay, of doing that is to deflate. Okay, because Bitcoin, right, there will always ever only be 21 million Bitcoin. Okay. Once the 21 million Bitcoin has been fully mined, right, fully minted, right, no more Bitcoin left. Okay. All 21 million will circulate around the world. Okay, there won't be additional one. Right. So what Bitcoin, the core fundamental of doing that is to deflate the value. Right. So that, inflation is caused by what? Inflation is caused by a lot of liquidity injection to the market, and primary the Federal Reserve printing more money, right? The government keep printing money, right, to inject into the market. So that's caused the inflation. So what Bitcoin is trying to do here is to actually deflate. Okay, it's a deflationary mechanism. Okay, so that is how everything sort of happened within these 4 years. Okay. So if we look at the chart over here, right, in the last crash, right, that was in 2014, right, we will have a bear market, okay, bear market, okay, followed by a recovery to a bull and an exponential growth, all within the next 3 years, okay. In 2018, right, we see the same pattern. Okay, I don't know why my pen keep drawing me a cat symbol. Okay, in 2018, we see the same pattern. Okay, 1 year of bear, followed by recovery. Of course, there's always pullback. Okay, and then we welcome the exponential move the next 3 years. In 2022, okay, the same thing happened again. Right, the bear comes back, and then it takes another 3 years to recover. Right, to 2025, end of 2025. And then we will hit with the bear market in 2026 again. Okay. So, right, theoretically, if history plays true, okay, and we just follow the 4-year cycle, right, what will happen? Okay. 2027 to 2029, we should see a higher high for the Bitcoin. Okay. Is this good? Is this good news or bad news for you guys? Okay, if it's good, type in G. If it's bad, type in B. Okay. The 4-year cycle right now, right, has been like the most commonly talked about topic. Okay, why? Because it has been happening, it recurred too many times, right? So most of you find it good, right? Hey, why good? I also find it good, because you just need 1 year of bear. So every 4 years, right, I have 1 year of opportunity to buy, and then I just sit on 3 years to take profit. Right, sounds good, right? And then everything plays out accordingly. Okay, at least for the last 4 cycle. Okay, the 4-year cycle never break. Okay, according to the halving. Okay, so that is my sharing for tonight. Okay, so very simple, just follow and then you will beat Martin, right? Okay, just a joke. Okay, so the thing is, a lot of people are talking about this 4-year cycle theory. Okay, but it doesn't really have any very solid fundamental behind it to support it. Okay, of course, the halving is one because it reduced supply. That's why increase the what? The scarcity of Bitcoin. Okay, that's why logically, every 4 year after cycling, every 4 year after halving, it should go higher. Okay, so that is one of the basic fundamental that support it. Right, but I also realized, right, I don't know whether Satoshi, right, so Satoshi is the founder, is the one who created Bitcoin, right, and nobody know who he is, right. I believe that he has more complex design, right, behind this 4 year halving, and it's somehow also correlated with certain market indicators, like certain business cycle, certain market cycle. Okay, and today, right, I take some time to look back at certain historical data, okay, to help us support that. Will the 4 year cycle still comes back? Okay, are we very sure? Okay, can Z end his webinar tonight right here because this is being supported? Okay, or will the 4 year cycle break? Okay, will the 4 year cycle stop working this year? 226, it came crashing down all the way back to nothing for Bitcoin. Possible also, right? Okay, so let's take a look at the next chart. Okay, firstly, right, the breakage of the 4 year cycle, right, has been a theory that was not discussed once or twice. It has been discussed many, many times. Okay, just like every bear market, right, there will always be people that say that Bitcoin is dead, right? No point. Okay, and it just go higher. Okay, so I pull out a very old data that I used to have. Okay, if you look at this, right, in December 8, 2024, okay, somebody posted that the 4 year cycle is still intact. Okay, because why? Because it happens. Okay, it plays out accordingly. And he also mentioned that a lot of crypto influencers, right, are still denying the fact that the 4 year cycle is real. Okay, there are also people that commented, it's not because of the crash, but almost every model has been broken. Okay, so this is the old chart from 224. Okay, that's why you see that the price doesn't play out in 225. Okay, let me draw the price for you guys. Okay, it play out in a way, of course, there's up and down, up and down, up and down, and then sorry, let me redraw this. Okay, oops. Okay, where is my mouse? Okay, so now up and down, and then we hit the high 225. Okay, and then we come down now. Okay, so according to the chart from 224, right, we can see that if we plot in the price, right, until what we have today, is actually still playing up. Okay, so the 4 year cycle are quite strong, this theory. Okay, but I also have one belief lah. Okay, so I used to discuss this with Leslie, which is my co-founder for Crypto Learn, right, that sometimes, right, the market work accordingly, right, when most people believe the way it is. People believe that a recession will come, that get worried, they don't spend money, consumer sentiment reduce, everything reduce, and then cause even more fear, and then suddenly one day really it will come. Right. So sometimes I feel that it's a human belief. Okay, but the 4 year cycle appear to be very strongly intact. Okay. And to further justify this, right, to give you guys even more conviction in this, right, okay, let's look at some of the a very key data that I discovered, that I discussed with my friend last Saturday. Okay, that I convinced him. Okay, it's time to buy. Right. We look at the history of the crypto winter. Okay, we don't look too bad past lah. Okay, we look at the last two cycle. Okay, in 2018, right, during the crypto winter, right, the price, okay, peak in 2017 until about 19 to 20,000, then fell to around 3,000. Okay, by December 2018. Okay, and very lucky for me, during this period, I also managed to grab some at around 3,000 plus. Okay, but I also got sell for profit lah. Okay, so even myself, right, during that time, early in my adventure into the crypto space, right, I don't have a full conviction as well, right? So I can understand how people are feeling now, right? So like I mentioned, 83% drawn down. What causes the 2018 crypto winter? Okay, basically it's more of an ICO bubble. So what is an ICO? ICO is an initial coin offering, pretty much like initial public offering, just like your IPO. Okay, during that time, right, many token was created. Okay, but many of them are just scam. Okay, many of them doesn't have fundamental value, and a lot of these projects just failed. Okay, the price just collapsed and never recover again. So investor lost confidence in most of the altcoins. Okay, there is also a big news in 2018, which is the China crackdown. So China had a heavy crackdown on crypto. They banned all the ICO, and also against crypto exchanges. Okay, also damaging global sentiment as one of the most powerful nation, right, in the world. And China, every time when they do a crackdown, it's like that. You know, they like to crack down a lot of things. Last time I remember during the COVID period, they clamped down on this, they cracked down on this gaming company in China, right? And then they cracked down on all the tuition centers, right? Because they feel that they are causing disruption to educational sector, you know, and it's usually hit very hard, right? And also regulatory pressure, right? The SEC during that time, US, right? They are all against crypto. And everybody is trying to find way to sue crypto, trying to get them to trying to register crypto as an illegal thing, okay, during that time. Okay. But okay, one thing, right? If we look back, right, all these things that caused the crypto winter, right? Can you guys control or not, guys? If you can control, type in one. If you cannot control, type in two. Okay. Yeah, participate a little bit with me so I don't feel like I'm talking alone. Right. Then I will be more enthusiastic to share more. Okay. Right. So a lot of these incidents, right, if we look back at the history today, right, they are incidents that we cannot control, right? And sometimes even called a black swan event, right, that you can't control, right? So what are some of the things that we can refer to, okay, that probably we cannot control, but we can try to predict the probability, okay? So 2018, right, also saw something very interesting. Okay, the economy, right, during that time, right, was not in a crisis. Okay, the real GDP growth is still solid and positive. Okay, the economy is still expanding during that year. Okay, inflation was also not a big issue. Okay, the CPI was relatively contained as well. Okay, but what is one of the biggest issue, right, that contributed apart from all the black swan event, right, is this thing that we call the quantitative tightening. Okay, so during 2018, right, the Federal Reserve, right, has one of the half quantitative tightening, okay, on the financial condition. So they raise interest rate multiple times in 2018, okay, ending the year with about 2.2 to 2.5 target, okay, and they were reducing their balance sheet, okay. So even though, right, the economy seems to be doing okay, okay, speculative asset like crypto, right, face a very tight liquidity environment. Okay, why is this so? Because um in any assets, right, we need liquidity, we need money to come in. Okay, so it's a very common sense thing, right? It's just like, you know, most people will buy a new car, right, or buy luxury products when they have what? When they have additional money. Okay, maybe you get a pay raise, okay, and 40% pay raise. Or now you think that, wow, I'm rich already with 40%. I want to change a new car. I feel good. Okay, so that's how the money works in the economy, right? Money always flow around. Okay, and when there's a tightening, right, a lot of this liquid, or rather a lot of people, right, they don't dare to go into risk asset like crypto. Okay, so that is one thing in 2018. Okay, and with all this combined, we are down 84%. Right. So what happened in the 2022 bear market? Okay, 2022 bear market, more like a crypto credit crisis. Okay, so Bitcoin peaked in 2021, okay, close to 69,000, okay, one of the most massive run, okay, and then fell to around 15,000 in 2022, okay, with a, you know, drawn back about 77 to 78%, okay. What causes the Bitcoin winter during 2022? Okay, mainly the Terra Luna and USDT collapse, okay. So I know there are some beginners over here. Okay, let me just briefly explain this UST. Okay, so there is just now we mentioned about altcoins, right? Okay, ALT, okay, COIN, altcoins, right? So stable coin, right, are one of the altcoins. Okay, but what are stable coins? Stable coins are coins, right? They are pegged to real world currency. Okay. For the reason that, for you to hedge against your crypto, in a way. Okay? Because in the crypto world, you guys must understand, right? Everything works in crypto. Right? It's very hard for you to convert. Today, I want to convert Bitcoin to SGD. I want to convert Bitcoin to Malaysia Ringgit. Or I want to convert crypto to USD. Okay. On the crypto platform itself, you can't do that. Right? Everything works in crypto. Okay. So that's why someone created this thing called a stable coin, where one stable coin is equal to one USD. Okay. For example, one USDT, okay, is equal to 1 USD. Once USDC is equal to 1 USD. Okay. And during that time in 2022, right, Terra Luna has this UST, okay, algorithmic stable coin, okay, that collapsed in the end. Okay, it just doesn't work out. Okay, and create a lot of fear in the market during that. Okay. And then the next one is the domino effect. Okay, the three arrow capital collapse because of leverage fund, especially UST, centralized lender flows withdrawal, worsening the panic, and then eventually caused the FTX collapse. Okay, so whoever knows the FTX collapse, right? Timing FTX in the chat. Okay, so I see which era are you guys from? Okay, or you are still recovering your from FTS now. Okay, you can type in FTS in the chat. Okay, so this is actually the one final event that caused the crypto market to collapse, and also the trust in centralized crypto platform collapses as well. Okay, a lot of people don't dare to enter crypto again. Okay, so that's the 2022 crash, right? And this crash is quite bad. You know why? No? Because I can see that even with 2023, right, according to the 4 years cycle that we mentioned earlier, right, it recovers. Okay, but in 2023, right, the retail participation is substantially lesser. Okay, the volume is substantially lesser during that time. Okay, I think a lot of people are still having the fear that wow, I cannot do that again. One time is enough for me. Okay, so these are some lessons that we learned. Okay, but let's look at the macro data again. Okay, comparing to 2021. 2022 bear market, right, happened during a period, right, that so 2018 market was doing okay, right? But the Federal Reserve is trying to tighten the liquid. 2022, right, saw a similar situation, but it was caused by other macro data. Okay, the first one is that in 2022, right, there was a major inflation shock. Okay, the US inflation hits its extreme level in 2022. Okay, and by November 2022, although it cools a bit, right, it's still high. Okay, and USD, so in US, right, it also in 2022, it also experienced a negative real GDP growth. Okay, so GDP grow at about 2.1% in 2022. Okay, inflation is high, right, at about 4.2 4.5%. Okay, and during that time, consumer sentiment is extremely weak. Okay, let me see whether I have this slide. The consumer sentiment, right, is at about 50. Okay, a record low at that time. Okay, so the Fed has to come in and they started the quantitative tightening in June, or 2022. Okay, so everything collapses. Okay, with the further quantitative tightening, the market dropped even further. Okay, and the market really begins to bottom. Okay, anticipating the worst of the tightening of the liquidation behind it. Okay. Okay, and then we were down 77%. Not so bad, okay. At least we didn't go back to 83%, 84% on the previous drawn down. Okay. So guys, take note of the percentage. Okay. Later I have a I give you guys some Q&A also. I have a quiz for you. Okay, for those who answer correctly, I give you a gift. Okay. Okay, I see how, right? Okay, and then in the 2026, which is the current bear market, right? What is happening in the current situation? Of course, we are still in the bear, right? And it's still developing, okay? But the setup is already quite severe, okay? So it has peaked to 126,000 and then fall back right now to about the 60 to 65,000 range, okay? Which means we are roughly about 50% drawn down, okay, from the peak, as per what I mentioned just now, okay? There are also some certain events, okay, that we cannot control, okay, similarly like the US trade war, okay. In fact, this triggers the October 10, 2025 flash crash event, which is the largest liquidation event in crypto to date in history, okay. And then we have the Middle East war, the Israel-Iran war going on, and then also the oil price, getting out of control, and stuff like that. Okay. And we saw also inflation acceleration, okay, this year, right? Also, but let's look at the data in terms of a comparison. I have some chart here now for you guys to see. Okay, so let's look back at the comparison towards the 2018 and the 2022 bear market. Right? So the only difference is that 2018 US economy is still expanding, okay, but there was a massive tightening, right? Okay, let's look at GDP first. 2022 GDP is contracting, okay, but still positive at 2.1. Okay, now the latest one is at 1.6. I think it's an estimation. I don't know whether it's an actual one. Okay, the Q1 real GDP growth, okay, it's an actual one. Okay, lower than 2022. The economy is slowing, but not to the stage where, it's very, it's a deep recession. Okay, so comparing all three cycle GDP comparison, a bit a bit slower. Okay, the market is a bit slow, but apart from 2018, okay, but not in a recession mode, right? And then we look at the inflation comparison, right? Okay, 2018, the inflation is relatively contained, okay, because the economy is also doing well. But then the rate hike, okay, rate hikes because its economy was too short. 2022 was an inflation shock, and 2026 has also seen the reacceleration of the inflation to 4.2%. Okay, so we risk a Fed cut delay and a risk asset pressure. Okay, consumer sentiment, all right, weakened in 2018, but it's not a historical panic. Okay, in 2022 fell to a record low of 50, and in 2026 fell to a rebound a bit in early June. Okay, the latest data 48.9. Okay, but still worse than the 2022 low. Okay, so okay, the last one. Okay, the last one is the liquidity. Okay, so I mentioned about the importance of the liquidity. Okay, so although there are some differences in the past three data, right, we see that during the crypto bear market, right, because crypto is still a very small market cap compared to stock market, compared to a lot of different other asset class. Okay, but it seems that the it was reflected, or according to the 4-year cycle, right, the bear market is also heavily coincidentally, right, happens where the market has all these macro situation, okay, that is what the weaker consumer index, slower GDP growth, right, and of course the tightening. Right, 2018 we see tightening, okay, 2022 we see severe tightening, and then in 2026 right now, what we experience is that no rate cuts. Okay, the rate cuts will be delayed, and the balance sheet is still not aggressively expanding. So of course it's developing out, so no clear liquidity rescue yet. Okay, but the good news is in 2026 right now, right, since the late last year, there are some active, the Fed is actively buying back some of their government bonds. Right, so this help to provide some liquidity in the market as well. Okay, so right, if we now look back at the 4-year cycle, okay, can you guys see that, in the Bitcoin this year, right, is at its 17 years history. Okay, so we are actually a very new asset class, still a very new asset class. And we see tremendous changes in the crypto landscape, okay, especially in this cycle. Okay, why? Okay, because this is the first cycle, right? Okay, that has government support. Okay, in 2024, okay, we get our first spot ETF. Okay, and it's a decade-long journey. Okay, and now we have an ETF. Okay, just like before, gold has an ETF, was quite volatile as well. Okay, and then the gold ETF comes in. So this year, right, the bear market, right, are very heavily disrupted. I can say disrupted. The movement, the price action of the Bitcoin, right, are heavily affected by the ETF inflows and outflow. Okay, how much BTF or how much Bitcoin ETF has been redeemed, how much has been purchased. Okay, a lot of them are being affected by creating a constant sell pressure stream. Okay, this year, okay, Bitcoin, right, more similar to a traditional risk asset rather than what we used to be. Okay, we used to be a high risk asset that are more volatile than the traditional risk asset. Okay, so now it's really about all the ETF flows, the confidence, the macro liquidity, institutional demand. Okay, so what this could mean, right, is that in 2026, right, okay, we look at this part, right, okay, in 2026 right now we are 15% down now, right. We could see less damage, okay, than the previous two bear cycle. Okay, unless there is some black swan event again, okay, or all these company, not all these institution, right, like MicroStrategy holding a lot of Bitcoin, even SpaceX IPO, right, also declare they have a huge holding of Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. All these strategic reserve company, right, fail. Okay, it could trigger a deeper drawdown. Okay, but I think this year with the institutional adoption, or rather this cycle, right, with the institutional adoption, right, we could see less drawdown, okay, from Bitcoin price. Of course, secondly, this cycle is also very different that we have a very pro crypto president, right? And but the funny thing is, this is the only cycle that we have a government support. We have a pro crypto president, but we have the less returns, okay, out of all the cycle, okay, which also points to one thing, okay, which also points to one theory that I believe, okay, once the institutional players, right, fully capitalize the space, right, they will take a cut from the profit. Okay, and the profit that is left over to the retail investor will be reduced. Okay, if you agree with me on this, right, type in A in the chat. Okay, so up to now, right, okay, do I think that the 4-year cycle is still intact? Okay, I think so, yes. Okay, why? Okay, why do I think that the very high possibility the market will play out again and then come back up? Okay, of course, one point is that, with the institutional adoption, like I mentioned, I think that this time around the 2026 low might not be that low, okay, or rather it might recover faster. Okay, but we have a look also compare back to our historical data, right? Okay, of our previous bear market, right? What supported the recovery? Okay, so now we talk about the 4-year cycle, right? We talk about the bear year. We have 1 year of bear, 3 year of growth. Okay, what supported the growth? Okay, in 2018, right? 2018 is a year, right, that has no regulation. Okay, so there is no institutional participation, no all the wealth fund-based institute, they cannot invest in Bitcoin. Okay, and it pumps purely from the bottom, right? From the way I look at it, right, purely from the quantitative easing. Okay, so the good news is all these guys. Okay, I also realized this in terms of a business cycle. The 4-year cycle in Bitcoin, right, also always correlate to the business cycle. Okay, what do I mean by a business cycle? In a way, right, you must understand that when the Feds, right, tighten liquidity, right, at one point, right, they have to ease liquidity. Okay, when the market is too heated. Okay, so just like the 4-year cycle, right? You have 3 years of bull, you have 1 year of bear, okay? You will always have a possibility of bull coming back, okay? So the recovery from the 2018 bear market, right, was heavily supported by the money printing in a way, okay? Because of what? Because of the COVID during that time, okay? So 2019 changes the environment, okay? The Federal Reserve stopped hiking the rates. They cut rates 3 times in 2019, okay, and they injected a lot of money, okay, they bring a lot of money to support the market, okay, and then in 2021 we see a massive growth, okay, and in fact it's one of the most massive for altcoins in crypto's history, okay. And in the 2022 crash, right, okay, what brings about the recovery to 2023, 2024, 2025, okay, the first one, right, is the ETF, okay, like I mentioned earlier, the adoption of institutional player, okay. So why the ETF could fuel, liquidity injection also, okay, because right now, right, there are a lot of people, right, just like many of you here tonight, right, if I tell you go and buy Bitcoin, right, you probably don't know how to buy it, where to buy, how to buy. Although you can easily Google now, and with AI helps, right, you can easily find information, but sometimes it's not so easy. Okay, and also previously, remember I mentioned the FTS collapse. So some people are still lagging the confidence, to invest in a centralized crypto platform. Okay, leaving their Bitcoin there. For example, I have a few 100,000 of Bitcoin left in the crypto exchanges. Okay, will I be worried? Probably I will, because I worry that tomorrow there's a black swan event again, the crypto platform collapse, the centralized exchanges collapse, all my Bitcoin is gone, right? Even if they will be able to recover it back later with more implemented regulation right now, it probably took me a few years also. Okay, so people are reluctant to participate. Okay, but when ETF comes in, right, it's a whole new gameplay, right? Because now it opens up the door for retail investor and also institutional investor, right, to better participate in the crypto market. Okay. Let me show you statistic, right? This is in 2023. Okay. 90% of family officers says that clients are including crypto and digital asset in their investment strategy. Okay. It proves that, right, a lot of these family officers, wealth fund, they are interested. They see the potential in crypto. Okay, but during that time, a bit difficult to participate. Okay, firstly, because how you handle your own coins, right? How you own and handle your own private keys. Okay, so for people who are not don't know what is a private key, is a bit more technical. It doesn't matter. Okay, but it's basically how you hold your own Bitcoin that is not in the centralized exchanges, right? And then also there is a tax issue. Okay, all these issue which prevent them from entering. Okay, so the ETF and the institutional adoption, right, open up this door for them. Okay, so the recovery from the 2022 crashes are very heavily contributed by institutional adoption. Okay, so IB, I saw a question. IB is one of the biggest lah. Okay, but okay, there are so many ETF, right, especially Bitcoin ETF, right. What is the comparison? People are comparing. Of course, you need to see whether it's a spot ETF or whether it's a perpetual or option ETF. Okay, and also the fees. A lot of people are concerned about the fees. Okay, just like S&P 500, right? There are a lot of index you can buy that is representing S&P 500. Okay, not just the SPY itself. Many a time is on the fees. Okay, so I'm not too sure about the fees. Okay, but I think BlackRock as the biggest player, they should be competitive, right? Okay, sideline a little bit. Okay, so apart from the this institutional adoption, okay. Oh, I still have one more data here. Okay, so the interesting thing about why am I confident that people are all these fund manager, wealth family officers, wealth manager, right? They are interested in Bitcoin. Okay, because right, Bitcoin has also created yet another milestone, even when the institutional adopts that. Okay, is what? They became the faster ETF product, right, to accumulate over 1 billion. Okay, 1 billion. Okay, in AUM within just 4 days of launch. Okay, on the market. Okay, and now BlackRock Bitcoin ETF, okay, has becomes the faster ever big ETF to accumulated 70 billion. Okay, so I think it's a good indication that the interest and the sentiment is still there. Okay. Okay, so next, okay, the 2022 recovery, as we mentioned earlier, contributed a lot by the institutional adoption. Okay, but we also seeing a similarity in terms of the liquidity. Okay, one of the big thing that happened was in March 2023, which is the banking crisis, the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. Okay, so the Fed has no choice but to what, to inject money to help. Okay, and we actually also see in this recovery, right, up to 6 rate cuts. Okay, let me see. Is it 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Yes, correct. So in 2024, we see 3 rate cuts in September, October, and December. And then in 2025, we also see additional 3 cuts in September, October, and December. Okay, so this also contributed liquidity in the market, or rather even not a lot of liquidity, but also a sentiment, recovery of a sentiment in the market. Okay, and then 2025 we hit our all-time highs. Okay, and then what happened to 2026? The cycle repeats, right? So the 4-year cycle repeats itself. Okay, so we can see that, right, in the last 2 cycle recovery, right, is very largely contributed by liquidity in the market. Okay, so I will say that the institutional adoption, right, is just one way of a liquidity injection, okay, in a way or another. Okay, but what is the beauty of it? Okay, so now we know, right, we know that, hey, market comes and go. Market, there will always be up and down. When there's sunrise, there's what, there is this fall, right? So the beauty about crypto is, right, at least for now, the returns are very attractive. Right? So we talk about the crash of the previous bear market, what causes it, okay, and how liquidity is important in that. We also see the recovery of the past bear market, okay, what causes it, and also we see the shadow of liquidity playing a part in it again. Okay, and from the 2018 crash, right, until its recovery, right, Bitcoin actually pulls back about 2000% in returns, right? And in 2022, the 2022 crash, we will pull back about 78%. Okay, and the recover to its peak is around 714%. Okay, is this okay? I ask you guys this question now. Right? If you have to be very emotionally affected for just 1 year, okay, be very frustrated for 1 year, okay, and put in all your effort in this 1 year, right, to buy at the right time, and you can see this kind of return in the next 3 years, right? How many of you think that is good? You type in G in the chat. Okay? If you think it's not good, you type in N, N for not good. Yeah, I want to wait a little bit to see the chat, okay, because it's a little lagging on my side. But I'm just interested to see if there will be anyone who type in N. Okay, because anyone who type N means that they really don't like money. Wait, good, right? I think it's quite good also. Okay, but you probably realize this now. Okay, what's the issue? Is that, okay, the 2014 crash, right, until the 2017 peak, the return, if I'm not wrong, I cannot remember offhand now, but I think the return was about 15,000%. Okay, and then 2018 was 2%, 2000%. Okay, and then 2022 was 700%. So we can see that the percentage growth, right, has been greatly reduced. Okay, and this is why, guys, today, right, you are in here, right, remember the title. What's the title of today's sharing? Okay, it's the Bitcoin opportunity hidden behind the fear. Right, this could be your last chance as a retail investor to get the last exponential opportunity, I would say. Okay, because like I mentioned earlier, once the institutional player are fully in, which actually defeats against a little bit on what crypto is, but okay, these are very technical theory, okay, but when they are fully in place, right, I will see less gain, to be honest, okay. And if you were to ask me, right, for now, okay, if I have to concentrate, because right now we are 6 months in the market already, right? So we have another 6 months left. For now, right, if I try to put in more time and effort to study about what is crypto, okay, what is the 4-year cycle that I shared with you guys today? Okay, go do your own research, right? And then see what is the opportunity there, right? And invest correctly this year, right? For the next 3 years, right, if the market plays out again, the 4-year cycle plays out again, right? Let's say I have an cut of the returns in half, okay? 350% return in 3 years. Okay, averagely 100% return per year. Is it good? I think it's very good. I will still go for it. Okay, right? So this is the kind of potential that we are seeing, okay, in crypto, and that is why this is also the reason why that still a large portion of my portfolio are significantly in crypto. Okay. And this year is what 2025, 2004, 05, 06. This is the third year we are having a Bitcoin ETF only. Okay, so I think it's very new. Okay, it still have a lot of room to grow for this crypto market. Okay. So I think the next golden question is, right, everybody saw the 4-year cycle, you might be very excited already, right? Then you might have this golden question for me. Okay. Right now we are 7 months already in 6 months. Okay, 7 months because we dropped in around October, November. Okay. 7 months in the bear market. Is this the time to buy now? Hey, if you guys have this question in mind, type in 1 in the chat. Okay. Is this a good time to buy now? I think a lot of you might have this question in your mind that you wanted to ask already. Okay. So I want to also pull back up the macroeconomical data again up to now, okay, for 2026. Okay. Inflation, okay, high, right? Consumer in sentiment hit the lowest, right? We shared earlier just now from 8.9. GDP growth slow down, okay. Fed rate cuts expectation has been pushed, estimated towards 2027. No chance this year, no way. Okay, but this is an estimation, we don't know. Okay, so at least as of now, right, the macroeconomical data supported us what we are still in the bear. Right, we are like 2022 bear, we are like the 2018 bear. Not exactly. I'm more correlated to a 2022 bear. Okay, so can we buy in the bear? Of course, but then what? Low can go lower, right? Okay, you think now is low, will it go lower? Possible, right? Okay. So what is the good time to buy? Okay. Okay. Let me okay, I have a summary here actually. Okay, but let me just quickly go through this summary. Okay. So comparing to the two previous bear market, okay. I think okay, before I share the price action on whether now is a good time to buy, which is your golden question, right? I just conclude on this slide that my take that the market cycle are still very much intact is because of this. Okay. Firstly, I share about the liquidity, right? So we are right now in a situation where we don't have easing of the liquidity yet. Okay. But then it will what? It will come. It will just come. Right. So either next year, the year later, in the next 3 years, it will come on. Okay. Either year. Right. And then the we are now right still sitting on what high spot ETF AUM, okay, which is the institutional adoption that we do not have in the past. Okay. We are also sitting on the Clarity Act. Okay, so this is an act from US that Trump wanted to pass that could bring about a lot of clarity to the crypto market. Okay, so there are a lot of money sitting on the sideline now, okay, from the institutional player. That they do not want to enter because they don't have a clear regulation to guide them yet. Okay, and if this Clarity Act is passed, right, I think it will bring a lot of liquidation in the market. Whether is it to Bitcoin, that one might not be so, right? But it could support some of the altcoins project, okay, which we will share at the end of the webinar. Okay, and right now we are 52% down, 50% down lah, so still ongoing. Will we be hitting the low? Okay, and duration so far has been about 12 to 13 months. We are about 8 months in now. Okay, we are pending for liquidity. Stable coin demand is rising, which is why I think that a 4-year cycle are still very much intact. Okay, it will recover soon because if we look at the timeline, right, now to 2027, the timeline. So with this theory, right, there are a lot of analysts, right, that are predicting what? They are predicting that the bottom is in October. Okay. Why? Because if we look at the previous historical data, right, we have about 12, 14, 13 months in, right, from the high to the low, to the bottom, right? And if we time that in, now is June, right? So we are about 8 months in, so we have about 4 to 5 months to go. So that will be July, August, September, October, November, right? So it falls around the October, November period. Okay. So is October, November period the best time to buy, guys? Okay, if you think it's the best time to buy, can you type in B in the chat? Okay, type in 1 in the chat. If you don't think it's the best time to buy, type in 2. Okay. And for your information, this chart I got it from some Twitter tweet. Okay, so this is not I say one, not by Zach. Zach never say that October will bottom. Okay, some of you might change your answer now. Okay. To be honest, okay, I don't know. Okay, I really don't know. Nobody know. Okay, no one has a crystal ball. Okay, but I want to share with you, okay, that where are we now in? Okay, I will look at, okay, when we look at okay, the macroeconomical data, right, and we look at historical data, right, one thing that is very important is technical data, right? We need to look at the price action also, okay, sometimes to further justify our action, okay, and help us prepare for the highest probability, okay? So I'm going to pull out my chart out. Okay. Everybody can see my chart, good? Okay. So, right, let's look at, okay, this is the monthly chart of Bitcoin. Yeah. So let's look at first, it's a bit messy over here, okay, but let me show you guys some data first, okay? The first one, okay, let's look at the Bitcoin halving. Okay, remember we mentioned about the Bitcoin halving where it was what? The mining reward will be reduced in half and then creating scarcity for Bitcoin, okay, and therefore a deflationary mechanism, okay. So let's not look at the 161, okay, because it's a bit hard to look at the chart. Let me put it bigger. We look at over here, okay, the 2018 bear, okay. So the 2018 before the bear, right? Remember bear is the what? Is the bear year, right? Before the bear year, we have what? We have 3 years of 16, 17, 18, right? Okay, 15, 16, 17, 18. We have a 3 years of bull or sort of a recovery to the bull. It happens after the Bitcoin halving. Okay. Second time, right? During the 2022 cycle, the 2022 crash cycle. Okay, before that is also a 3 year of bull. We see a recovery, okay, after the bear year, right? Okay, after the bear year, we see a recovery. You guys follow me, okay. So after the bear, right, we see a recovery to what? To 2019. Okay. So 19 saw what? 19 saw. Sorry. I cannot pull out. Oh, sorry. Let me okay. 19 saw the recovery. okay, and then it got some pullback, and then people say, oh no, the 4-year cycle break already. Then come the halving, right? Then come the halving, and then what? And then it follow through to a high, and people was like, wow, finally, we are following the 4-year cycle, and then it come down again, the pullback. And then people say the 4-year cycle break again, this time around we don't need 4 years to become the bear. And then it recover again, okay, and then it hits the 4-year cycle again. Okay. So very funny, huh? Okay, and then the 2022 bear also lasts for about 1 year. Okay. In fact, it lasts slightly longer for 2022, okay, pointing to about 13 months. Okay. From December 2021, or in fact, we bring in one candle forward, November 2021. Okay. From November 2021 to December 2021 drop all the way, okay, until December 2022, January 2023, then we see the recovery. Okay. And then price pump. Oops. And then what? And then we have the Bitcoin halving happening. Okay. This time around in April. Okay. Okay. On the 20th of April 2024. Price pull back slightly and then welcome another all-time high. Okay. 4-year cycle still intact. Okay. Then came the 2026 back. Okay. So when is the next we talk about the possible bottom first. When is the possible bottom? Okay, 12 to 13 months in, will praise us as October, November period, right? Which is what a lot of analysts are saying now. Okay, and then what the Bitcoin halving will be in 2028. Okay, and if you realize this, right, there is also another matrix right now on the chart. Okay, which is the midterm election. And this is something that not a lot of people are talking about. Okay, so let's go back to the historical chart again. Okay, if we look at 2018, right? Okay, when the bear market hits, okay, it comes back down to the November midterm election, okay, cost further down before it recovers, right? So in 2018, what happened? Before and after midterm election, price drop. Okay. In the 2022 bear, okay, price also dropped, although we see a 1 month of red candle, but you can see that before the midterm election, right, price also dropped, and after also dropped further before the recovery, okay, of the market. And now we are also having our midterm election in November. Okay. So is October a good time to buy based on the previous screenshot from the I should credit the Twitter guy, but I forget his name. Right, never mind. Okay, is 2022 is November a good time to buy? Okay. I don't know, probably. Right. So could it come down here? Okay. Come down further. And before the trend reversal, maybe in January, maybe further, maybe in February. Okay. And then welcome the halving. Comes back down again. Right. And then what? And then pull back out. Okay. Possibility is that. Okay. But if you ask me, will it really be the bottom? To be honest, I don't know. Okay. So what do we do now? Okay, at this stage. Okay. We have identified that the 4-year cycle are very much intact, even though there's a lot of noises around, even though a lot of people are saying that Bitcoin is dead. Okay, we have identified a similar pattern, not only on the 4-year cycle, but we now base it with the Bitcoin halving, right? We also identify the action, okay, according to the midterm election, okay? And we also identify, the cost, the liquidity importance, right, during the last few bears and its recovery, okay? So to recover, right, okay, we still need to see whether the liquidity comes in, okay, or any good news of the clarity coming in, okay? But if you look at it purely from a historical price point, right, chances is very high, okay, that the bottom are in over here, okay. But I feel that personally, I feel that it will probably fall lower, or longer. Maybe we will last it through Q1, 2023. Then maybe mid of Q1 2023. I don't know. Maybe February or March. Okay, because of the midterm election. So what should we do now? Okay, we should DCA lah if you want to buy. Okay, meaning if I have 100,000 to buy now, I don't go all in and wait for October. I say, wow, Zach, tell me October, November is the bottom already. I will wait for the bottom. And then November hits, I buy in all 100,000. And then November never hit the low. Went up to 80,000. You don't care, you still buy. And then it dropped, and then you blame Zach. Okay? Okay, don't work this way. Okay, I think, in fact, I have a buy limit that was fulfilled. That was filled last week. I remember it's last week, right? At 60,000. Okay. So you split up your capital into 3 or 4 tranches, okay, and then you enter them subsequently. Okay. So what is the possible low? Okay, now that we see, okay, wow, that you draw the arrow, looks very good. Okay, but at what price? What is the possible low price? Okay. So I also draw here a line, right, at 55,000, right? Right now we are at 65,000. Okay. Okay, what is this line? It's called the BTC, Bitcoin realized price. Okay, it's the average realized price of all Bitcoin holder. Okay, and meaning if Bitcoin crash down to 55,000, right, most of the Bitcoin holder are in losses. Okay, and historically, right, okay, I don't have a historical Bitcoin realized price. Okay, but historically, the Bitcoin price tend to bottom near the Bitcoin realized price. Okay, so there's a possibility that we hit back to the 55,000 range. Okay, there is also another theory, right, that is saying that we could probably hit back to the 40,000 range or the 35,000 range. Yeah, this range. Wrong. 5,000 range, 40,000 range. Okay. Okay, why? Because of either some of this black swan event or the clarity act doesn't plays out like what everybody think. Okay. And in fact, right, a lot of this type of news, right, anticipating news, right, usually are pricing already. Meaning by the time it happened, it was too late already. The price doesn't really correlate to the market sentiment already. Just like in 2024, right, when everybody is expecting the ETF approval to bring up Bitcoin price, the price already went up before the ETF approval. Okay, so a lot of time the prices are being priced. Okay, so this could be the possible range that we want to let. Okay, for me now, if we come back down to 61, 62,000 range, I think it's a good time to buy in one tranches also. Okay, but first, disclaimer, this is not a financial advice. It's not a buy or sell advice. Okay, it's purely for educational and sharing purposes only. Okay, and I think that the theory of it falling towards 40 probably, but towards 35 or even lower, right, out of these 3 range, the probability is not as high. Okay, why? Okay, also because if you look at the historical data of the crashes, right, of the drop, right, you realize that the drops are also minimizing, just like the profit are reducing. Okay. So in fact, today CoinGecko just published a video. The average out reduction in terms of drawn back, right, is about 7%. Okay, which means that Bitcoin, right, has a possibility to hit its bottom at about a 70% drawback instead of 60% or 50%. Okay, so if we were to look at the price action now, right, let me use another line to draw here. This is about the previous high. Let's use another color. Let's use a green color. Okay. Okay. So let's say, let's put us as 125. Okay. So let's say 125, right? 1,025 okay, minus 70%. Okay, where will that bring us? Okay, it will bring us to about 27,500. Okay, which falls around this range. Okay. So Bitcoin has a possibility of what? A drawn down back to 55 or around this range. Okay, supported by what? Supported by historical data, if history repeats itself. Okay, supported by the historical data we look at on the midterm election and how the 4-year cycle play out. Okay, so up to down. Okay, do you guys find more clarity in terms of where is the possibility of the outlook going forward? If you see more clarity behind the sharing, can you type in C in the chat? Okay, disclaimer again, it's not a financial investment advisor. Okay, so right, I have also prepared a breakdown, okay, on the outlook of where we are now, what are the current risks, what are the current presented situation. Okay, the bearish risk, okay, is that we continue experiencing negative outflow from the ETF, okay, because this has been proven to be one of the main indicator that is affecting Bitcoin prices, right? The Fed will continue holding rates, meaning liquidity is not coming in. Okay, the CPI continue to accelerate, consumer sentiments continue to stay low. On the technical price analysis, Bitcoin continue to stay below its 200-day moving average, which is a very common thing indication for a bear market. Okay, and historical pattern implies a bottom of 40 to 50,000. So this one we cover already just now on the price action. And then of course, in situation that we cannot control, the ongoing US-China trade war and also the Iran war, although Trump say that a peace deal is coming, okay, but I think I saw this tweet, don't know how many times already, okay, I haven't seen the peace deal in. But then Israel and Iran is firing at each other again, right? So all this war, all this black swan event is something that we cannot predict, right? So this could further risk the price lower. Okay, but what are some of the bullish signal? Okay, continue to hold for the Bitcoin ETF. No major exchanges collapse as per what we discovered in 2022. Okay, Binance cannot collapse. Collapse very scary. Okay, a lot of my money in Binance also. So US pro crypto regulation posture improving. Clarity at stablecoin legalization advancing. Right, long-term holder continue to accumulate. Okay, so strategy, right, micro strategy, a recent job, right, also contributed by MicroStrategy because he sold his Bitcoin and he mentioned that he will never sell his Bitcoin. But now he's changed his word. He say he asked people and he himself will never sell. Okay, but he never say the company will never sell. Okay, but you can go and Google if you are interested. Okay, there are reasons behind the selling. But interestingly, he buy back more Bitcoin after the selling, right? And then also the Iran conflict, easing, and then historical pattern based on the 4-year chart, every bear followed by a new all-time high. Okay, so that's worth a celebration, right? So there are some triggers to watch, right? Whether the Fed will cut rates, okay, historically bullish, even if just one rate cuts, okay, hopefully by end of the year or early next year. Okay, continuous ETF inflow, Bitcoin reclaiming is 69,000 support. Okay, the rest is basically the same. Okay, so I don't go through them again. Right, so these are overview. Okay, and I hope whatever I have done, trying to share with you guys tonight, give you a more detailed and technical or data supported breakdown of the 4-year cycle, and don't just see the 4-year cycle as a myth, as a theory, and also give you more clarity on what is to come. Okay, and most importantly, right, I think tonight sharing, right, is to tell you that this could be your last chance, so don't miss out on the opportunity. If not, you have to wait another cycle again. Okay, so for those of you who are very new, don't know how to buy, don't know about crypto, go and learn it. Okay, go and find some time and effort to learn it, because I can tell you, so far I have been through two plus cycle, okay, and it has been rewarding enough. Okay. Okay, so that's all for my sharing today. Okay, but before we go, okay, I want to give you guys another tips. Okay, another tips to motivate you guys a little bit, okay, to not give up on the crypto market. Okay, so remember just now, right, I mentioned that the last crypto market cycle, right, was very disappointing because of what? Because the altcoins is not performing, right? And why is it so? I can tell you guys, in 221, I still remember very clearly, I have this coin which is Polygon Matics. My gain upon Polygon Matics, right? I take profit somewhere along the way, lah. But I think all in all, right, average out, right, is close to 2000%. Okay, well, that is the kind of returns you see in 202. A very scary one. Every coin is winning coin. Any coin you don't know about, right? They will just pump like crazy. Okay, and it's not happening in 24 or 2025. Okay, that's why a lot of people are saying also that the cycle are broken. Okay, but is it really true? Okay, so I chant out this data, right, which is the top performing coin of 2024. Okay, divided into different category. Okay, of course, the purple color one will always be retail investor favorite, which is the meme coins. Okay, all these are with no fundamental value, right? Pump like crazy. Okay, and then I think you guys cannot see the percentage here, but never mind, later I share with you guys. Okay, so for example, right, let's talk about what I'm familiar with, lah. Okay, because my fundamental is doing research. Okay, actually I don't like to talk about. I don't like to give live and everything. Okay, most of the time I like to be back and doing my research. Okay. But one thing we can see, right, from 2025, 2024, right, is that a lot of people are disappointed because all the previous coin, right, that is pumping in 2021, right, is not happening. For example, Solana lah. Okay, Polymatics lah. Okay, which is now called used to be called Matic, now it's POL. Coins like maybe Injective, okay, Immutable X in the gaming sector. All these coins that pumps like crazy in 2021, right, never happen again. Okay, you can see that Solana is what at the last, right? Because every cycle the narrative change, right? And in 2024, right, it's very concentrated on the DeFi, the layer 1 and 2. If you don't know this technically, don't worry. You can take some time to go and study. Okay, AI, real world asset, which is RWA. Okay, not so much for the gaming anymore. Okay, and then of course infrastructure and the meme coins. Okay, so all these points towards, okay, especially the L1 all these infrastructure, I praise toward one thing, which is the institutional adoption. Okay, and why? Because 2024, 2025 is where the institutional player comes in. Okay? I still pretty much believe that this will be the same sector that will happen for the recovery in 2027. Okay. Maybe one more sector, which is the bank, the lending, borrowing. Okay, all the decentralized finance, okay, over here, okay, which is categorized under here, the decentralized finance. Okay. So now ready to hear the percentage. Yeah, I tell you, virtual, right? Let me see whether I have the list here. In 2024 is about 6,000%. Okay, 6,000%. On those, is at about 1.7K. Okay. And then let's look at some coins that I like. Okay, hyper liquid, performing like crazy now. Okay, 781%. Okay. RV in 2024 is around, what's RV? 220%. Okay. And then even Solana, let's look at Solana, the lowest one that's underperforming. Okay, also have about 77%. Okay. So did the altcoin season not come about? Okay, not totally true. It just comes in a way that is very sector focused. Okay. And in this bear market, right, we are seeing something that is rarely seen before in the last 3 cycles. Okay? Even in the bear market, there are still coins that are outperforming Bitcoin. Right? The altcoins that are outperforming Bitcoin. So this is a screenshot that I took earlier. Okay. If we look at the 1 year, okay, 1 year performance until now. Oops, sorry. Supposed to motivate you guys, but then we cannot. Maybe I'll bring out my pen again. Okay, in the 1 year, right? Okay. We see, like, for example, Hyperliquid again doing very well. Year to date 62%. Z coin, the OG coin, okay, up 1000%. Okay, Lab, a new L1 coin, up 7000%. Right. Humanity on the privacy sector up 982. Triple V up 400%. Okay. So this year, right, okay, for Bitcoin, right, I am not so worried, right? Because why? I have shown you, I spent about 1 hour and 1.5 hours, in fact, okay, earlier, to share with you that how I believe, okay, that the fundamental and the cycle are still very much intact. Okay, a lot of my effort this year are trying to hunt for the potential coin that could, outperform when the market recovers. Okay. And these are some of the sector that I shared earlier. Okay, so that was the tips that was given out. Okay, so you guys can go and look at it. Right. So yeah, as promised, okay, this is the last part on the altcoins. Okay, altcoins are still very much with potential. Okay, it's something that you should not reject. Okay, you should not ignore. Okay, so don't just look at Bitcoin alone, right? And just now it came up, but I want to show you again. Okay, this is the very famous quote from Warren Buffett. Okay, everybody who are investing know this quote. Okay, be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. But in the crypto, you have to be greedy when others are fearful, but greedy in the right sector. Okay, and I also screenshot this interesting post from this I think it's Twitter. Okay, in 2024, when the price is at for Bitcoin, when the price is at 62,000, right? It was at what? It was as extreme greed. Okay, but now today in 2026 at 62,000 is an extreme fear. Okay, so goes back to what Warren Buffett said again, right? Okay, so thank you very much for being here, spending about the last 1.5 hours with me, guys. Okay, I hope today's sharing give you a clear and concise breakdown, okay, and outlook that's going forward, and also hopefully I can help someone here tonight, to potentially profit from the crypto market, just like how many years ago, close to 10 years ago, where someone also did the same to me and bring me into the market. All right. Thank you everyone for the sharing. And if you want to understand more, for example, right, the price action, like how I shared how to look at the chart, okay, to combine with all these macro data, on-chain data, right? We actually have an upcoming free webinar, okay, that we will be sharing one technical analysis strategy, okay, that you could use it to also time the market. Okay, so just now I was timing the market a lot basing on the historical data, basing on the price action, right? But we could also time it according to the using a certain strategy, okay, to determine whether it is forming a low or a possible bottom. All right. So if you're interested, you can scan on the QR code. It's free. Okay. So you can come and listen to it. Okay. But once again, thank you everyone for your time. If there is still time, maybe if there's anyone, I will still be here for maybe the next few minutes. If anyone has any question, right? you can post a question in. I'll try to answer some question. Yeah, I realized that I might miss out some question earlier. Let me go back to your chat again. Shirk Hand Mine. Okay, sorry if I pronounce your name wrongly. Had a very good point. So he mentioned that we are back into the green zone of the MVRVZ score. So yep, I think as a seasoned player, since you know about the MVRVZ score, it is a data that it's an on-chain data that we use to determine whether Bitcoin is fair value. Okay, yes, correct. You are right. Okay, Bitcoin is as its fair value now. In fact, for a while now already. Okay, but probably going back into the green zone, right? Good, very good. Okay, let me see whether there's any other question that I missed out earlier. So if you have question, you guys can post in the chat. Okay, I'll try to answer within the next few minutes before we end off the sharing. All right. So okay, for me, right, I don't buy the ETF. Okay. The ETF. Firstly, it's not a real time, it's not exactly, I cannot say it's not a real time price. It's a real time price because it's a spot ETF. Okay, but because I purchased the Bitcoin directly myself, right? So I don't buy the ETF. Okay. But how does the price action affect the ETF? Basically, I don't think the price action affect the ETF, but rather the ETF redemption and the inflow and the outflow, right, are the one that's affecting the price, right? Because uh, the sentiment, when there's a huge outflow, right? Okay, so how the ETF works, right? So Coinbase is most of their custodian, okay, for the coin. Okay, so for the ETF, they need to hold the coin, okay, but they don't buy in like spot trading, okay, meaning like today you want to buy 100 IB, then the 100 is being purchased. No, they are purchased by badges and they are also time delay. Okay, so I don't think the price affect the ETF, but more on the ETF inflow and outflow affecting the sentiment of the market, therefore affecting the price of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Okay, so I hope this answer your question. I think if you want a simpler way to invest, of course, then go for the ETF, right? Because then you are familiar with your usual brokerage, how it works and everything. But if you know how to operate on the crypto exchange, you want to buy it directly, holding it yourself, I think you can do that as well. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if not, thank you once again for being here tonight with me, and I will see you guys in the next sharing. Right. So I always have to say this before I end the webinar, right? Wishing everyone to the moon, right? See you. Bye bye.